Hello everyone, my name is Hunter May. I'm the owner of May Crochets, and today we're doing a very highly requested video of how to increase for a Tunisian raglan pattern. So I'm going to be working in the round for this little t-shirt I'm making here. You could also be working flat and not in the round. I'm not going to be going over how to work in the round. I'm specifically just going to be talking about increases. So I will link the video if you want to watch how to work in the round. All right, let's just dive right in. Okay, so here's the start of my raglan yoke. Usually you're gonna start a raglan like off of a collar, or like I started a row of single crochets first and then picked up the stitches. It's much easier to do that with Tunisian crochet versus like working off a chain, especially in the round specifically. Okay, so there's a few things I want to go over first before we walk through how to increase. When it comes to raglans, there's a couple ways you can do the raglan seam. So you could have one stitch in the middle, you could have 2 stitches, 3 stitches, 4 stitches. I don't know if I've seen more than 4 stitches. Depending on how many stitches you have as the middle seam, kind of depends on where you put your stitch markers with Tunisian crochet. So if you only have 1 stitch in the middle, you could put your stitch marker in a vertical stitch, marking that as your middle stitch going down the seam. And you would do increases around that stitch that's marked as the raglan seam. But I don't really like having just 1 stitch down the middle. I prefer 2 personally. So instead, what I do is I actually place my stitch markers between the vertical bars in the return pass here. So I put my increases around these 2 stitches. So I put it here and here. It's the same thing, we're just doing it different ways. So you can pick however you'd like, but just know that that's the way I'm doing it. And then the other thing to talk about that could be different with Tunisian crochet is how you increase. I don't know if this is like a total assumption, but I would say almost all Tunisian crochet raglan increases, or just increases in general, are usually a Tunisian full stitch. And if you want a quick recap of what a Tunisian full stitch is, you can watch the video here. But a Tunisian full stitch, you pull the stitch between 2 vertical bars to add a new stitch. The other way that you could do it is you could just do a full-on yarn over to add a new stitch. However, that would add a circle or like a little hole down your raglan seam. So I will show you both ways. Let me work up to my first stitch marker here. Okay, so I have worked up until I have 1 stitch and then my stitch marker. So you could either have this stitch be where your stitch marker is, you could have it after, like I have it, where it's in the return pass. Now the way you would increase, there's 2 different ways. So we could do the yarn over way, work the next stitch, we created an increase, but this is gonna leave a hole in our work down the raglan seam, which is fine if we like that look. That could be an actual decorative part of your raglan seam. Or the way I'm doing it with this pattern is a Tunisian full stitch. So we're going to insert our hook between the stitch we just worked and our next stitch, go between the 2 vertical bars, push to the back, yarn over, pull up a loop. We increased, and then we work this next stitch. So there's our increase. Here's our stitch. We're gonna work past our stitch marker. So if this was your single only stitch of your raglan seam, you would take this stitch marker, just put it on this new stitch that replaced it, and continue on. But since mine's on the return pass, I leave it until I work my return pass. So I'm just gonna ignore it for now. I work the next stitch like normal, and then we're gonna do another increase. So for me is a Tunisian full stitch. So here's actually my last increase. Here's the last stitch I worked. So I'm gonna go between those 2 vertical bars, pull up a loop, and then work the next stitch. So here is my increase. And you just keep working like normal all the way around your yoke. Now I'll do my return pass so you can kind of see what I do with my stitch marker. Since I'm working in the round, my return pass makes me look at the wrong side. So if you are working flat, you'll be looking at the right side doing your return pass as normal. So what I do for replacing my stitch marker here, I work up until past my stitch marker where we can see it's right here. So I'm gonna do one more return pass, and here's where my new stitch marker needs to go. So I can see it's between these two stitches in the previous row. So I just take it off and I put it into the return pass there. And then I just keep going and leave a couple stitches at the end when working in the round and put my hook back, and I'm ready to continue going and adding more increases. It's so loud with all the things on it. That is essentially how you do increases for a raglan seam with Tunisian crochet. Like I mentioned, there are a few ways you can do it. Most of the time it's gonna be a yarn over or it's gonna be a Tunisian full stitch. You can also do different ways of adding your stitch marker. This is just the way I prefer, and it makes counting a lot easier because you don't have to take out one stitch on each of the 4 points. You can just include your stitches to either side of the stitch marker as like a buffer stitch to your total amount of stitches in each section. I really hope you found this tutorial helpful. I'm gonna link 3 patterns down below if you wanna try out this new technique, where one is a Tunisian raglan sweater with this super pretty stitch that it uses. It is a little complicated, I'm not gonna lie. And then the other one is my universal raglan sweater pattern, where you can choose to use a Tunisian stitch. And then lastly, the universal raglan cardigan that you can also use any Tunisian stitch for as well. And this pattern here will be available at some point, but just not right now. And I honestly don't even have a name for it yet. So this is a TBA. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found it really useful. I will see you in the next one. Bye!
I wish I could leave my skin behind in this old rented room, float my way across the great divide and be bare